Well, winning the show, Kim Cameron. You are an award-winning screenplay writer, songwriter and filmmaker, and international singer. You've had over 20 songs in the iTunes charts over the last 5 years, and performed and toured across the US, Europe, and China, and been a regular international music festivals for over the past 14 years. There's loads to talk about with you, Kim. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tell us more.
Well, you make me sound good with that intro. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I am in sunny Florida right now. I live in Miami Beach, so I can't complain. The weather is always beautiful and it's always sunny. So, but I make no apologies for it.
What's happening with you today?
Well, today I've been diving into movie number 3. Started just dabbling a little bit into it. So I have a movie series called Superpowers, which is based on my children's book series. This would be the third installment of that movie series. Since they're all animation, they are a very long process. And so I'm beginning that process for number 3. So that's actually what I was working on today. But, every day is different. Last week, I was shooting a music video for a release that's coming out this Friday. And then the week before, I was finishing up a episode for a TV show I produced called Miami's Listening Party.
Wow.
So it just depends on the day.
Wow. Where do you get your music from?
Well, I'm inspired by lots of things, anywhere from stories from people or stories about myself. I would say I am a hopeless romantic. I'm always writing love songs, not all love songs, but I would say 80% of my songs are love stories. And it's just kind of where my heart's always at, I guess.
And the other 20%?
It's a variety of things. I've written, obviously, quite a few children's songs, and especially for the movie. And so those really are scene dependent, depending on what the characters are doing. There will be songs that are appropriate for that scene. So there are a variety of things from, whales singing about how great the day is to a dolphin, talking about how to be friends. And so it kind of, it depends on what the scene is.
Right.
But yes, lots of fish characters going on in those scenes.
What's your feeling about positive social conscious music?
Well, I think music in general is something that always, well, at least for me personally, always brings out an emotion that you can't feel with other things. And I think there's a place for all kinds of music because we have all kinds of emotions. So whether those emotions are playful or loving or serious or sad or happy, there's a place for them. And I think we need all of those because we have different emotions at different times. And we also need those things at different times. And, I kind of think about music this way is I like to play music based on my mood for that particular moment in time. And if you look at statistically what people will gravitate towards, it's usually the opposite of what they're feeling. So if they're feeling sad, they usually gravitate towards something like dance music because it gives them the energy to get out of their sadness.
That's right.
But if you are trying to be reflective, or you're going through a time period where you want some memories, you'll gravitate the other way. So I think there's no shortage for the type of music that one should be able, well, I should say that one should create and that we should have available to us, because I don't think we've reached a point where we don't have enough.
Exactly. Who was your favorite social conscious artist?
Wow. I don't know that I have a favorite. I have a tendency to love songwriters that love to tell stories. And I think the stories, really kind of highlight how that person is feeling or what the message they're trying to convey. And While I call myself a story writer, I would say I'm not as good as a lot of storytellers out there in song. There's some, I think even though I'm not an avid country music listener, one of the things I always love about country music is the storytelling. I mean, you can hear them talk about from the day they met somebody to the day that person, they lost that person, and they go through the whole story in 3 minutes. And you leave and you're, wow, I know this person's story, and it's really magical. So I think, I gravitate towards those artists who can tell that story in a very short period of time and bring out that emotion. So whether that story is about how we might, save our oceans, which of course I have a lot of songs in my movies about saving the oceans and references to that and how important it is for us to treat each other with kindness. I would say those lend themselves to more storytelling than some of my dance songs, which do have stories to them, but they're all love songs, which of course, is something we're all, hopefully getting and seeking at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I say this basically on every show because I was blown away that there are over 5 billion love songs.
I'm not surprised. I probably contributed 500 to that number.
I can think of it, but there are only 192 million social conscious songs. And so over here at Music for Global Change, we're trying to raise that level of people.
Well, I don't know that and that might not be a fair number because we've only began to coin that phrase. Before that, before the last couple of years, people didn't call those songs that way. But if you think about the Beatles really started that, and that was long, long time ago, and they had so many songs that were really social conscious songs. Let It Be, and I mean, it goes on and on and on at the number of songs they had. We just didn't call it that, I don't think.
I love it because John Lennon was writing a lot of that stuff, right? And it wasn't until he went by himself and wrote Imagine.
Yeah, exactly. But we didn't call those songs that. And I don't know what we called them, but it's I think that there's probably more out there because in general, it's hard for me to think of an artist that doesn't bring out a part of their soul that talks about lots of different issues. And they may mask it one way or the other with different lyrical content, but it's, those are issues that touch all of us. And I think it's very hard not to have it come out when you're writing a song.
Do you remember Marvin Gaye?
Oh, yeah.
That was social conscious.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Marley.
Sure. Well, of course, Bob Marley. I mean, he was kind of the trailblazer for a lot of that.
And Nina Simone, wow.
Yes.
She was serious about her social consciousness, right? But a lot of people have written social conscious songs, but there's never been a genre for it. It's never been a platform, and that's what we're creating, see?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to bring awareness to it because it's been there for a long time, but people didn't really recognize it.
But we got to have more writers and performers join the party, right? And you get a lot of people out there doing positive music. That's going to change your whole attitude because the folks that's going to go see that movie, that music, they already know it's going to be fun, it's going to be safe, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the kind of festivals we're going to throw where people can come. We're coming to eat with each other and dance with each other, and you don't really need security because everybody's doing something positive. It's a positive vibe. Like you said, dance. That's an amazing thing, right? And but I want to find amazing talent all over the world and put them on stage together and have people start gravitating to that, right? You could change the attitude.
I think music can do a lot of things. And, making people feel positive inside, making people feel things they don't normally want to feel. I think music, obviously I'm biased since I'm in the field, but even before that, I remember as a child, my dad and I, we celebrated listening to music. It was like a thing, we'd play the Elvis records and Elvis Costello and Paul Simon and Garfunkel, and we danced in the living room, and it was like our own little party that we had, just us, and that we did on a regular basis, and it was a thing, right? It was if you think about it, it's not done so much anymore. That's why we created all these dance clubs, because people forgot that you can still do that. You can still celebrate music as a family, as at home.
So are you saying music was here before computers?
It's amazing, right? My dad collected the 45s, and I don't think he has them anymore. He had boxes and boxes of 45s, which, now the vinyls come back, these would be worth so much money. But, and you'd look at the A side and the B side, and it was always like a thing, like what was on the B side, right? So it was such a cool experience.
Oh my God. Tom?
Now, I've got a couple of questions. I'm going to bundle it in for you, Kim. First of all, I'm interested to see the sort of animation side of things for you. What brought you into kids animation, that kind of stuff, and also where your biggest passion is. I mean, obviously, you've got the music side of things that you've had for a long time. Now you've gone into film and TV with as I mentioned, the kind of animation there. Where's the biggest passion? And would music, does it always come back to the music, or where does that sit within those passions for you?
Okay, so those were like 12 or 13 questions, just so you know. But let me see what I can do. So the animation started really after I began writing the children's books. So there's two reasons why I got into that. One is I do a lot of teaching of small children music lessons. And so I've always had a passion with the younger ones. I love being around minds that are just constantly wanting to absorb anything new, right? It's just a fun experience. The second was when I was in tour in St. Bart's. I was there for about a month. And during the middle of one of my sets, a little girl came up to me and we struck up this conversation. And she explained to me how she had this love. Her most favorite animal in the ocean, creature, was an octopus. And I thought, well, that's so odd for a little girl to like octopus, because you think little girls like dolphins or maybe starfish or something like that. And here she was talking about this kind of ugly creature. So we wrote this song, of course, the next day on the beach. What else do you do when you're on tour? And it was called Mr. Octopus. And we played it for her the next night. And it was kind of a tongue in cheek. But my guitar player said, you ought to write a story about this. So I ended up writing a story to go around the song. And we created a audiobook, and the audiobook was so well received that we decided to convert it into a hardback.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they asked me to, well, you can't stop there. You got to keep writing it. So after 5 books, I thought, well, I really would love to see this on the big screen. And so I took the first book to try to figure out if I could do it. It wasn't my first experience in film, and it wasn't my first experience with animation, but it was my first experience taking film and animation together. So it was quite a big undertaking.
I love that. Yeah.
And it took about 4 years for the first one, and I made enormous mistakes, right? But at the end, I was like, okay, I think I've gotten my education. So that's my passion is both a love of the little ones, a love of telling stories, and my degree is in broadcast journalism. So I've always been interested on the film side as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Wow.
Did I answer all the questions? That was I tried to answer all.
Hold on. Yeah. Thank you.
So what's happening for you next?
Well, besides starting to work on the third film, I also am, trying to put together a series of episodes for this TV show. that's called Miami Listenings Party. It's a really an in-depth look at different artists and how and why they create the songs they create and about them. Some of the artists perform live on the show. It's all kinds of genres. It's very upbeat. It's fun. So that's we did the first in Miami, as you would imagine. The second one we actually did during Grammy Week this year. And the third one I'm sure we'll do back in Miami. And so I'm trying to get, at least 4 more done before December. So let's see what happens.
Wow. I'm already tired just listening to it.
Yeah, lots of work. Wow.
So listen, thank you so much for coming on the show, right?
Yeah,
well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time, right?
Thank you guys.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.